All right, so if you've been watching my channel for a while, or if you've been through any of my older videos, there's a good chance that you've seen this mic talking into this mic. I used to get a decent amount of comments asking me, hey Mike, what is this microphone that you're talking into? This is the AKG P220. Now the P220 is an entry-level microphone, and for the price, I would say it's one of the better microphones in its class, I gotta say. But if I went into a professional recording studio, and when I sat down, they mic'd up my acoustic guitar or my drums with this, I would be asking some questions, possibly asking for a refund. Now, I have this microphone and actually have another one of this microphone. I have two of them because on a limited budget, these things can work great. But if I'm gonna be recording drums for possibly some Crusade projects, then I'm gonna be slightly more hesitant to put these, or God forbid, put this Audiotechnica AT2020 anywhere near my drums. So we had a couple of options. Either I could drop a ton of money buying new drum mics, and if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna get some really good ones. We could rent those good microphones instead of buying them, which would be a temporary solution, but would cost a decent amount of money over time, especially if we plan on using this as a long-term solution. Then it clicked for me. My friend Mike Corcoran, who I call DJ Markiplier, go ahead and drop him a follow on Instagram, by the way. He runs 615 Recording Studios. He had told me about modifications to microphones, and I was like, what, you can do that? Years ago, I had done some research on this and been looking into it, and the website that I found was microphoneparts.com. First of all, big props to microphoneparts.com for having excellent SEO. You are the first result for a lot of searches. So like a good automaton, I went back to the well and saw if they had any modifications for the P220, and lo and behold, they did. And they actually had a modification for the AT2020 as well. So I could take this entry-level mic and this entry-level mic and upgrade them to be not entry-level microphones. From things I've been hearing about people who mod their mics, or from these kits that they have already designed that you just assemble, you can get really great microphones. I'm talking like potentially in the thousands of dollars for very cheap if you just put the work in. So I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. The first mic we modded was the P220. Now there was an earlier release of essentially the same microphone called the Perception 220, which has an additional mod that you can put onto it. I forget what it was, but because of the nature of this new release, all we could do was replace the capsule. The capsule is behind the grill here. It's the circular portion. Let's see if I can get the light to reflect off of it. Yeah, there it is. That's the capsule in there. The capsule is either possibly or definitely the most impactful thing on a microphone's tone. Now, both of those models of microphones are cheap and made from China, so they're not like great, because most people who are new to mixing don't know how to mix. They have this super hyped high end that can come across as pretty shrill. You can actually hear that in a number of my earlier releases on this channel when I was using the P220 as my vocal microphone. The highs are just really ugh. But if I tried to duck the highs out with EQ, it would become dull. For those of you who are unfamiliar, there's an absolutely beautiful industry standard, like one of the classiest microphones you can get, called the Neumann U87. It's a fantastic microphone, and the capsule in there is incredibly renowned. The capsule for the Neumann microphone by itself is $1,000. Hey, one of many iterations of Future Mic here. So that was not entirely accurate. The vintage Neumann U87s had the K87 capsule back in the day. That runs about $1,000 now. Modern U87s use the K67 capsule, and that will run you about $750. So microphoneparts.com has a capsule on their website called the RK87. It is modeled after that U87 capsule. This RK87 capsule was $160. And since the circuit board inside this Perception 220 is kind of a clone, if you will, of the U87, it actually works really well. So here's some footage of me and my bass player, Steve Casto, modifying this P220. Here with Steve, working on what's going to be our microphone modifications, because I am not really good at this stuff and Steve actually has an idea of what he's doing. This probably is not gonna help too much, this over here. I'm more interested of us not catching each other on fire. Because we couldn't find any rubbing alcohol due to the fact that coronavirus is going on right now. So this is how we're cleaning our circuit boards right here. Which, weirdly enough, actually is better for cleaning. It leaves less residue than isopropyl. This is 95 and isopropyl is 91. Quick correction there, there's actually multiple types of isopropyl rubbing alcohol you can get. You can get the generic stuff, typically like in a grocery store, that is 91. You can actually get stuff that is meant more for what we're doing here with electronics, which I believe is 99, which is actually better than grain alcohol, but I was not aware of that until after the fact. Now, in order to open up this microphone, there's a ring around the XLR output, which we loosened with needle nose pliers and further unscrewed with a screwdriver until we could take it out by hand, and then removed the bottom housing. Ooh. Fancy. Do you actually know what any of these parts are?
That's a circuit board.
I hope this thing fucking works.
Thank you for using a black t-shirt. Now this stuff won't get lost.
Absolutely. Next, we had to remove the screws and the 2 circuit boards with the lower housing so we could remove those circuit boards to gain access to the 3rd perpendicular circuit board, which would give us access to the capsule in the grill. It's so easy, a caveman could do it, right? Right, Steve?
Exactly. If it can come apart, it can go back together.
That's a little bit of existential life advice from Steve. If you can come apart, it can come back together. If your life is in ruin, you can put it back together. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's all doable.
It's all doable. Just depends on how much you want to work at it.
Life lessons with circuit boards and microphones with Steve Casper. Dun 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 dun. Bum 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 bum. There is a capsule. That is the capsule inside the microphone that actually captures your sound. So on a dynamic microphone, you would not have a capsule. You would have what's called a diaphragm. This diaphragm is attached to your microphone and reverberates with the air vibrations. That's what sound is, it's air vibrations. So it captures those vibrations, it moves. There's a coil attached to that diaphragm that moves around a magnet. That magnet and the coil moving in there generates an electrical signal, which is what sends the sound out through cabling or cords or whatever you want to send it through. For reference, this is a basic dynamic microphone, and this is a basic condenser microphone. So on a condenser microphone, instead of having a diaphragm, they have the capsule, and this material here, powered by electricity, actually makes a field that sits just above this plating here. And that field is far more sensitive than the material of a dynamic microphone. So you're gonna pick up more sensitive, higher frequency information, and usually some more sensitive, lower frequency information as well. Before desoldering the capsule leads, we removed one lead from the side of the capsule so we got a little bit more slack so we didn't risk ruining our circuit board.
This one right here and that one right there.
You can see because you can see the wires poking through a little bit.
Yep.
Then it was as simple as applying the soldering iron to the existing solder till it liquefied, and we could take the leads right out of there very quickly. Next, we unscrewed the capsule from the capsule mount, then unscrewed the capsule mount from the greater mic structure, because we're gonna put our own capsule mount and new capsule on this mic. So we just had a bit of an accident. This was not supposed to come off of those 3 wires, so we're gonna have to solder those back on. Man, hard day working on microphone parts. We got that there Slammler
platter and
on Delmar Beach. All right.
Delmar Beach in New Jersey, Belmar.
That was my fault. I said Delmar.
Yeah. And yeah, they were like, you know, they had 1 or 2, and there was like 6. And oh my god, dude, I ended up polishing off that whole fucking thing. They ended up almost having to carry him back to the fucking car, dude. It was so bad.
Slampler platter.
A slampler platter of beers.
I'm just slipping on that beer
I'm
there.
slipping on the slampler platter of the bleers. And slaw the superstaddle.
Yeah. Drinking was not the smartest decision while doing this project.
It sure does make it fun, though.
Obviously, Sleeve and myself were enjoying ourselves a little too much, but we did get the new mount installed.
Okay, which capsule are we putting on this one?
I'm gonna be fucking amazed if we don't break anything, if this actually works at this point. A perfect advertisement, right?
Yeah, even a couple of drunk guys can do this. It's so easy. Just find a homeless guy on the street corner, put $15 in his pocket and have him do it for you. No problem.
$15 in his pocket, a bottle of Skull, he's good to go. Next, we mounted our new RK87 capsule to the mount. Simple enough.
We have our capsule mounted.
Yay! This is our new capsule. So, looking at it, you're probably wondering, Mike, why does this one have wires on each side like this, and our old capsule only had wires on one side? Well, when I was showing you the capsule earlier, I was pointing at the back of the capsule, which actually does not generate a field. Future Mike here. So sorry for the finger and frame. I am so deeply, deeply sorry. This side with the wire on it does. So the reason why is this capsule here is capable of having more than one polar pattern. So microphones can have a pattern that just goes out one direction straight. That's called a cardioid pattern. They can have two patterns like this, front and back. That's called a figure 8 pattern. And I can keep going into it, but basically this has the ability to do figure 8, but we're just going to make it a standard cardioid. So we're only going to use one of these wires.
It's so tiny. Can't even grab it.
Can't even feel it.
At least it's ribbed.
Now next we had to install the negative lead to the side of the capsule, as you can see there. And for some reason we had to install another screw on the side of the capsule that was responsible for the back side that we weren't using. I'm not 100% sure why we had to attach it with copper wire, but I'm sure it had something to do with completing the circuit.
How many morons does it take to put together a microphone? There's your answer.
70.
70?
Then we got the leads back through the holes in the circuit board to prepare to resolder.
Well, I might be able to tie one off to a certain degree in order to be able to help hold it in
I think
place.
we've already tied enough off this evening, Steve. Then it was as simple as reheating the old solder and letting the new lead sink right in.
Yep, did it.
Freaking A. That was slick, Steve. So with the extra lead that we had there for the second pattern, he just kind of just stuffed it underneath in there.
Just kind of coiled it a little bit,
Yeah.
cut the bare wire off. So that way it's all insulated and doesn't make contact anywhere.
Yep, just stuff it in there and it'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Next, we used our grain alcohol to clean off the circuit board and used a little bit ourselves to prevent the coronavirus. You know how that goes. So at least in electronics, I'm not sure if it's the same in other soldering circles. This is what's called the defluxing stage. When soldering, you use this stuff called flux. It's like an oily lipid type substance that helps the solder adhere to what it needs to adhere to. It does a bunch of other stuff too, but that leaves a residue, especially when it's heated up. And that type of burnt carbonated type of material, whether it be the flux or whether it be other particulates on there, can actually interfere with the conductivity of the circuit, and you want to make sure that you're getting the best electrical flow possible. So many hours later, as you can see, we finally got those 3 XLR lead outs back on that circuit board. We highly recommend, if you're going to be doing this, that once you finally get that uninstalled and you get access to the capsule, screw it back on really quickly so you don't risk breaking those leads. They were a serious pain in the butt. But once we got all those other steps done, it was as simple as reassembling. All we needed to do was put the circuit boards back where they belonged, put the grill back on, put the screws where they belong, and then put the bottom housing back on, the final ring.
And it's snug.
Word. All right, let's go test this bad boy out. I am getting signal out of my mic, and I am freaking excited about that. We just modified a microphone, people. That is awesome. Even though I'm filming and portrait like a giant asshole right now. I don't care. All right, so that was a heck of a process right there, wasn't it? So let's go ahead and do an A-B comparison of the microphone before it was modified and the microphone after it was modified. What you're hearing right now is the P220, no high pass, no padding. I have the pop screen on here. There is no processing going on in my DAW, no plugins, no EQ, no compression, nothing. And this is the P220 after we did the capsule replacement. Again, there's no pad or high pass filter on the microphone. There's no EQ or compression on the track. This is raw microphone. Now, some of you might not have noticed a difference, and that makes sense. I can tell you what I heard. First of all, I could definitely hear that the highs definitely were tamed significantly. Overall, it is a much more balanced microphone. To some people, that might come across as slightly more dull, but that is because your ears are kind of attuned to hearing things that crispy, if you will. Let me do some EQ work on the modified microphone to kind of make it richer, if you will, and then put that same EQ on the old microphone. You might be able to hear the differences even more so. What you're hearing right now is the P220, no high pass, no padding. I have the pop screen on here. There is no processing going on in my DAW, no plugins, no EQ, no compression, nothing. And this is the P220 after we did the capsule replacement. Again, there's no pad or high pass filter on the microphone. There's no EQ or compression on the track. This is raw microphone. See the differences now? Pretty crazy, huh? So yeah, in my opinion, that is a substantially better microphone, hands down. Okay, before I get to a conclusion, we did modify our AT2020 as well. The Audiotechnica AT2020 is notorious for being that first crappy microphone that everyone has in their arsenal and nobody uses after they actually have a running studio. Is it a bad mic? Not exactly. I can tell you it's definitely not a great mic. You're getting what you're paying for to an extent. I feel like you could probably get a better microphone for the price. Now, like I said, microphoneparts.com had a mod kit for this microphone, but that involved literally tearing out all of the electronic components of that microphone and replacing them. We essentially built a brand new microphone inside this microphone. That was a hell of a lot of fun. Now, just so you're aware, Steve and I have never worked with electronics before. We both have next to no experience soldering, definitely not soldering on a circuit board. So for anyone who has, there are probably several moments where you're going to want to yell through the screen. And I am sorry in advance. I'm so sorry. But you know what? We had a blast, so you get fucked. All right, day 2. Attacking the AT2020, which I went ahead and tried to remove some things yesterday, as you can see by me opening it. And I found out that the whole bottom half is just this. So the mic could really honestly just be this and that, and get rid of all of that, because this does absolutely nothing other than take up space.
R1 and R2.
Hold up, let me slide in. Let me slide into your DMs really quick. R1 and R2.
Yep.
I'm not seeing them offhand, but I'm sure.
Well,
the camera's
R2's
good.
right here.
So like I said, Steve and I have never put together any electronics before. So me trying to explain to you what all of these parts are and what they do, honestly, I'm not the right one to do that. But I mean, you can see we're kind of getting the lay of the land for a while here, and it was kind of fun, honestly. It was really fun figuring all this out for ourselves. Just a couple of doofs. Hey, it's in. Now all you have to do is solder it. Yeah, bend them off to the side, exactly. So this way that they stay in.
Yep.
It does not move. So the whole thing about the soldering is we had messed up the board on the P220 the day earlier, and we messed up the microphone by soldering it wrong.
Sexy!
So here we were completely screwing up the simple portion of these mic mods and faced with having to put together an entire circuit board, which neither of us had done before, and that was all soldering, which we had exclusively failed at. And we were just very intimidated. But we did a little bit of research, like we're supposed to do. And after the first few joints, it was a breeze. It was really satisfying.
9.2K R5's right there.
R5 is the bitch release of the R units.
Nobody likes the R5s. That's that one that blew up. Go back over, look! Until you look back, you never realize how much of a bitch Luke Skywalker actually was. He complained and whined about everything.
He was a giant whiny bitch in the first movie. While we have this beautiful footage of Steve putting together the circuit board here, I'm sure you're wondering, hey, if you broke the microphone while you modified it, how could you test it properly? Well, okay, I have two P220s, and we modded the second one, and the first one, Steve actually wound up repairing himself by doing a jump in the circuit. Now, I had ordered a third P220 on my own because just in case Steve couldn't repair it, I wanted to make sure we had two. We were using these for overheads on our drums. But yeah, it was definitely by the skin of our teeth. So questions for MikeParts.com. If you want to leave a comment and let me know how much we messed this up and how much
I don't know how to solder.
We're here to take your advice, sir.
Exactly.
Open for a collab. So all the pieces we just installed are resistors, pretty basic bitch stuff to do. The next parts are going to get a little bit more interesting because it actually matters how you install them. Just for reference, this piece is polarity sensitive, which means that if we connected it the opposite direction of what Steve is pointing it, it would not work. So the black is with the white stripe?
The black is with the white stripe. D2 right next to it. It's got the white stripe at the bottom. Black stripe is also at the bottom.
So like I had said, we both had very little soldering experience with electronics, and we had messed up the microphone from the day before. So each solder joint that looked very clean and was pristine was such a sigh of relief that like every time we clipped the leads, it was almost like a victory dance for us. This is just such a fun experience.
There's your ceramic capacitors.
Holy shit, it's coming together. It looks like a circuit board.
Gotta get the middle pin and bend it this shape right here.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It
Okay.
needs to make a triangle now.
That was a lot easier than I thought it would be. Okay, so the longer lead on the electrolytic thingamajig goes to the positive end. That little plus sign right there in the top left corner. We are almost done with this board. We only have a handful of holes.
This bent out at the 90 from the previous step, and we're only supposed to solder one end of this thing in here. Black end is on this end, gold on that end. I don't know where these are gonna end up going right here.
It's getting weird. That's why you see a clamp on a clamp. It's getting weird. we're at the defluxing stage.
Yeah, we're at defluxing. Yeah,
Cool.
and we gotta
So
clean it with the alcohol.
Yeah, I was gonna say that means we're using this now, right?
Yeah, we're using that now.
Yes, we are.
One for the rag. One for me.
One for the slag.
It's looking really pretty. Actually.
Yeah, ain't it looking really pretty?
Sure is. Even clips.
Looking very pretty here.
We are almost done with the PCB portion.
I guess that doesn't.
We are really close to done. I'm pretty excited about this, honestly. Also slightly terrified that we plug it in and it doesn't work, and we need to figure out why. This particular component right here is heat sensitive, so we're gonna have to do one and then the other really freaking quickly. You have to solder this red lead onto which port?
This little tray right here.
Gotcha. All right, let's make it happen. So this part was particularly frightening because we were afraid that the solder would spill off of that little dish there onto the capsule. Now we are having to solder that lead to the lower portion. And let me take this opportunity to give mad props to my boy Steve Casto for being so damn slick. That was beautiful. Now we have to desolder those 3 leads right there. Those 3 leads are the XLR out, so that's a sign that we are dang close to done. Okay, so this is the old capsule and circuit board for the AT2020. We were trying to follow the directions, and I thought I was doing something wrong because it wasn't coming out as easily as what he said, but it was also glued on the top with whatever this adhesive is. But okay, this is the only circuit board and capsule for the AT2020. This is the new circuit board. Old circuit board, new circuit board. I wonder what could possibly be the difference. I mean, for reference, the P220 had 3 separate circuit boards that attached to one another. Holy moly. So the only original pieces we're gonna use from this mic are the grill, which is right here, the lower housing, maybe this foam, we'll see, and the XLR component.
Insert the capsule Dix assembly into Mike's grill.
My name's Joe Exotic. I own tigers and I love tigers. I also mistreat tigers.
This thing to hold it in place.
No, you're not gonna have room for the circuit board.
Well, I could split it.
No, I wouldn't. Okay, this thing can fuck off. This thing is a ruse. This thing is an insult to pro audio is what that is. Some crazy shit. These 2 things here, these 2 leads, need to be soldered into that red lead from the capsule. All 3 of them. Holy shit! It did it!
I can't believe it either.
Holy crap, dude!
Wow.
That's nuts! At this point, trimming the leads is almost like a victory lap for doing this right.
God, for sure. Just don't cut the wrong side of the lead.
Yeah! So this may actually be the last joint we have to solder on our first microphone. Bro, can we get a victory lead trim on this?
Yes, sir. And bing, there we go. Done with that bitch.
I'm pretty sure this is our microphone. Well deserved, my man. Well deserved. All right, so what we're gonna do, this is not in the steps of the microphone rebuild modification. We took the foam that was in there and we hollowed out a little bit so that we can fit it around the circuit board and we can stuff it back in the lower portion of the housing. So one of the things that was listed in here is making sure none of the components touch the sides so it doesn't short the circuit or break the circuit or anything like that. And I can't think of a possibly better way than repurposing the foam that we were given and actually giving this foam some fucking purpose. Dear God. All right, all we have to do is get these screws lined up of the screen to the lower housing and then put the screws back in.
You, after all this, can't even get a screw to go in the hole. This is comical.
You want me to do this?
This is painful. This is painful.
Steve, I can do this, I promise. You've reached your limit. This is so good.
I can't get this.
After all this, we can't get the last screw in. And this is the final screw right here, the final one. That is it. Time to test this microphone to see if it actually works. Check, 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 check. Yes, hell yeah. We made a microphone, man. We completely stripped this thing out and we made our own microphone. Well, our own in quotes, but either way, you get the point. It works. I can tell you that after Steve and I built that microphone, really Steve built it, but I was there for the process. And I cut out a number of the parts where I was kind of giving him advice and like doing research and stuff. Not only did we both feel incredibly accomplished, but we felt super bonded. It was all, I don't want to say a rite of passage, but it's like we accomplished what we perceived to be an inaccomplishable task. Unaccomplishable words. When we first opened up that P220, it was the most intimidating thing to look at because we had no idea what any of these things were. We were afraid that the slightest mess up would screw up the circuit. So after all the trials with trying to swap the capsule in the P220, which we perceived to be a relatively simple operation, going and having to build a complete circuit board from scratch was the scariest thing. And we did it, and we did it well, and it was just like when we turned it on, it was just such a victory. So for that alone, I definitely would recommend getting some of these kits. But enough of the experience. How does the microphone actually sound? Let's do an A/B comparison of the microphone before it was modified and after it was modified. Or rebuilt. And this is the AT220 with no mods on it. This is stock out the box. There is no compression, no EQ, no processing. I am only using a pop filter. And this is the AT2020 after we did a complete mic rebuild. We just used, again, the same housing, the same grill, the same XLR output. Again, totally raw track. There's no mixing on this track, just microphone. Again, maybe it's not so easy to hear the differences between the two microphones, though I think that they are pretty drastic, honestly. Let me do some EQ work on the modified microphone, add that same preset to the unmodified microphone, and then we can see what that sounds like. And this is the AT220 with no mods on it. This is stock out the box. There is no compression, no EQ, no processing. I am only using a pop filter. And this is the AT2020 after we did a complete mic rebuild. We just used, again, the same housing, the same grill, the same XLR output. So what do you think? Now, again, I don't know a whole lot about electronics or microphone parts, I know some about microphones. I know enough to be dangerous with microphones. But to me, taking the Audiotechnica, which is a $100 microphone, and modifying it into this brand new microphone, this is a just substantially better microphone. Substantially. Me personally, I would put it at a $500 to $600 range, but I could be wrong. And when I'd asked Matt from Microphone Parts about, how he would price them retail if they came from like AKG or from Neumann or something like that, he said that looking at it from a price distinction is the wrong way to look at it. If you're using quality parts and you like the microphone and you're using it in the way that it needs to be used, that is more important than the price itself. You can buy a $2,000 microphone and doesn't do what a $400 microphone could accomplish for you much better. And I think he's right. I think he has a great point there, honestly. Now we have to test him on the drums, which we aren't able to do right now, and I'm not totally happy about. But once we do get a good test on the drums, I will be happy to share that with you to see what you guys think. All in all, I would say I definitely got my money's worth out of the mic modification kits. The mics sound more than what I paid money-wise into it better. Now, granted, when you buy a microphone for $1,000, you're not just paying for the sum of its parts. You're paying for the brand and everything that comes along with the brand. That is the quality assurance. That is just knowing that this thing is gonna work great. You're paying for the design of the microphone and probably a whole bunch of other administrative shit that's shoved in there that I don't even know about. So that's a lot of what you're paying for with a microphone. A number of those costs is taken out by getting these custom kits. Obviously, with that comes some risk. Would I say just buy any random custom microphone kit? No. But microphoneparts.com has actually been reviewed and talked about by several different publications and people who actually enjoy their work. And I will say personally, I've enjoyed what I've had so far. And if they'd be interested in doing a collab, I'd be very interested in talking to them about that. What did you guys think? Did you guys get anything out of this? I had an absolute blast making it. I hope I got the points across that I needed to get across. Maybe, we'll see. I don't know. I just had a blast making this, and I don't remember the last time I've had this much fun making and editing a video. Maybe Dumpster Diver, but Dumpster Diver came with a ton of stress. And this has like no stress attached to it. I would love to make more of these types of videos. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like this video, if you like what I do on this channel, you can subscribe. That'd be really cool. Like the video, comment on the video, support me on Subscribestar. Subscribestar is a freaking crucial way for me to make sure I keep making videos for you. And if you're feeling a little squirrely, maybe the nuts are rattling around a little bit more than usual, you can go ahead and follow me on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Become the Night. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next video. Rock on.